There is no one-size-fits-all or a simple fix when it comes to your well-being. Hi, my name is Josephine, founder of Positivity Center and Wellbeing Consultant, and a person figuring out how to be my best. So join me in conversation with friends, sharing what works for them, and then listen to what works for others so you can create something that will work for you. All right, well, hello and welcome to Wellbeing That Works. I am your host, Josephine Tite, and I am joined here today by a very interesting person I'd like to get you to know, Vernon McCarty. Hello, Vernon. Welcome to the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate the introduction. Interesting is always a nice way of saying strange. No.
Well, strange in a good way. I think we're all strange in a good way.
I agree. There's one thing that I've always, well, I shouldn't say always. We can talk more about that.
Let's.
When I became, more comfortable with just being comfortable or uncomfortable, just being myself, I realized, why am I trying to get everyone to like me? Why am I trying to be like everyone else when I could just be who I am? And I feel much more comfortable and less anxiety about that. So now it's like, I'm a little different. I'm a little strange. I'm a little whatever. And that's actually just me being me. And I think everybody, to your point, is a little bit different, a little bit strange, but we're all trying to be a certain way, which really doesn't work. So
yeah, we just have to, learn to be ourselves and even be adaptable to ourselves, because even we change, who we might be, even in our own regard of who we are.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, well, maybe share a little bit about you. What makes you strange or interesting?
Oh gosh. I guess depending on what circles that you're in, like I just say to people, it's taken me a long time, a lot of commitment, a lot of energy to working on myself just to be comfortable with being myself. And you started out, before we officially started the episode, you were talking about, taking care of yourself and what are the things that you need to do. And I wasn't able to do this or do that, let alone take care of other, whatever. And one of the things that I often say to my clients or conversations I just have with friends or family or whoever is I say, I'd like to redefine selfish, right? And people think, oh, that's really selfish. So like, there's obviously the selfish of like, all you're doing is thinking about yourself and you're trying to get as much as you want and you're whatever, cutting people off or whatever. Obviously, I'm not talking about that context. I'm talking about selfishness in that if I'm not, I say to my client literally last week, I said to him, because he shared with me an action that he's taking that is very noble and not really self-serving. It's really hurting him. Right. So he's trying to do something for a cause or a belief or whatever, and it's literally hurting his family. So I just said, who in your life, who do you think is the number one person, the most important person you need to be taking care of? And he looked at his wife and tapped her on the shoulder. And I said, look, I get, your wife is pretty important. Your family's pretty important. And then, and he said, well, it's me. I said, tell me more. He goes, well, if I don't do what I have to do, if I don't go to work, if I don't take care of my body, if I'm not healthy, then I can't take care of my family. I said, precisely. That's redefining selfish. Like you need to make yourself and your family and your finances or whatever it is, you need to make your stuff, take responsibility for your life. And you need to make that the number one priority selfishly, so that you literally can do more, be more, and give more to others. Like how on earth can you give that which you do not have? It's not possible. No. Yeah. So redefine selfish. That might be something that makes it strange.
That's like your mission is redefining selfish. My mission is like redefining what it means to be a caregiver. Cause I just feel like we've got to shift our mindset if we're going to move forward, if we're going to feel like vitality in who we are and be able to give. Really, truly, like, because you can't just give and feel like you're never getting back. That's one of the things that I'm trying to put out there is that when we give, there's a reciprocity that's happening if we stop to notice what it is. So often when I'm having conversations with caregivers, I'll say, or ask, pardon me, what are you getting back from the person you're giving to? And you can have that conversation with yourself too. Like when you give to yourself, what are you getting in turn? Like if I choose not to have sugar in my diet, what am I getting back? Right? I'm getting back health. I'm getting back vitality, energy. And what does that enable me then to give? So that as long as you always continue this loop, instead of it being just a one-way transaction of giving away, you give and receive, you give and receive. That to me is like a huge mindset shift that can help us, readjust.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Or it's shifting your thinking. It's like, do I want to take actions for immediate or short-term pleasure, or do I want to take actions that are going to build and compound and grow long-term? So to your point, I'm absolutely addicted to sugar and addicted to a lot of negative, bad health habits.
Unhealthy habits.
Binging, eating late, eating food that is not really good for me. And to your point, that's the loop that I have to continuously coach myself on, share with my friends, share with my family. It's like, why am I eating right? Why am I doing exercise? Why am I doing these things? Is because the short-term pleasure of eating whatever food or whatever is just not the payoff that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the long-term. I want to look good. I want to feel good. More importantly, I want to actually I think when I work out and stuff, I think about, okay, what do I need to do when I'm 80?
Right.
Bend down, I need to pick things up. I need to go up and down the stairs. I want to pick up a grandkid or a great grandkid. Like, what is that going to take? What exercises should I be doing today to make sure that 80-year-old, 90-year-old Vern can do those things that he wants to do? So it's like long-term thinking.
That's so huge, because you have to have a reward, and you have to be thinking about what it is that you're going to gain and what pain you're going to avoid by doing the exercise. How do you get motivated otherwise?
No, you're absolutely right. The good news for me, the good news is I've been really out of shape, and you're always feeling like swollen or inflamed, or like, it just doesn't feel comfortable. And in fact, I'm wearing a shirt today, and I used to just wear super casual clothes, and I created a story called "I don't like to dress in shirts, and I don't like to dress that way. It's not comfortable. I like to be more casual." That was a complete farce. That was such nonsense. In fact, it was such crap, but also so real to me. I literally thought it was real. I thought I was telling the truth. But then I realized when I changed my body and I put on a nice shirt, I'm like, oh, I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. In fact, I feel quite good. It was my body that was uncomfortable. Had nothing to do with the clothes or anything like that. But I convinced myself that everything was okay, right?
Well, this is an aha moment for me, you see, because no wonder why I didn't like wearing form-fitting clothing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's a nice dress on that mannequin over there. But when
I'm not putting it on me, right?
Not for me, right? Yeah. Interesting.
Oh my gosh. And that's so true. So what's your foundation? Like, what guided you to decide to make, because it sounds to me like you're making some choices and we're forming habits and practice around exercise. So what's been your foundation to move you to decide that way is the best way for you right now?
Yeah, that's really good. I will try to keep this concise. Growing up, I was always, quote, athletic. I did sports and things like that, like going to the gym and whatever. Like when I was young, it was no big deal. It was just like, that's just what you did. It was what you did. So, but then, you get a little bit older, you get into like the working world, you have kids, and then, life happens. One thing I'm super clear on at this point in my life is that everybody has trauma. Everybody has crap. Everybody has things they're dealing with. People that you're talking to that seem totally good and they're grounded and everything's good. Well, their mom just died, or they found out their friend is sick, or they found out they're sick, or they just lost their job. You know how it is. Everybody's going through stuff. And that's not necessarily bad, because it helps build resilience and all those things. Anyway, fast forward to, I was about 30. It was almost 10 years ago. And my best friend at the time made one really bad mistake. And it resulted in some extreme brain trauma. And basically, when I got that news, I was obviously crushed. And anybody who's ever lost somebody, it's a weird thing where, God forbid you lose somebody that you care about, but there's some closure in death. It's just done. It's like, okay, they died, they passed away. That sucks. It hurts. I'm broken. You work through it and you get over it. It's just like, okay, you miss them always, but they're gone. Mm-hmm. When somebody doesn't die, that is a very different challenge. because you're with that person, or at least, depending on how committed you are. I've been with this person the entire journey that they've gone through. And I've seen people come in and come out and, oh, I'm with you. We're here to support you. Haven't heard from that person in 5, 6, 8 years, right? They're gone, right? And I get it. It's because people are busy and they have lives. And maybe sometimes they don't want to be continuously reminded of that pain or whatever that their friend's going through. So anyway, my friend was not supposed to wake up. He was like a vegetable for a couple of months. And I used to go see him every single day. And I talked to him every single day about what was going on. And what I did at that time is I was not being selfish. I thought I was being selfless, and I was giving way too much. I was neglecting myself, neglecting my body, neglecting my business, neglecting my family to try and prop up and support this person and their family and to help them, because I thought that that's what you're supposed to do. But I was being completely irresponsible in all my other areas of life. And so what did that do? Well, default mechanisms started to kick in and I started to cope with things. And so anyway, I was actually there with my friend, like literally like a movie where they did that thing where they started to come to. Like I was talking to him, he started to crack this weird like flat smile, and I was kind of looking at him, and then all of a sudden he was kind of convulsing. And I thought he was like, because he had a, what do you call that? What do you call that thing when they cut? I can't remember what they call it. They cut your throat open. It helps you breathe better. Anyway,
yeah, the name's skipping my mind.
The name's skipping my mind. But he had this thing in his throat. He used to cough all the time, and I thought he was like doing a half cough, like coughing. But I realized he was laughing, like laying in this bed, hasn't even opened his eyes or anything in 2 months, and he's like laughing at me. And I'm going, and I said, "Are you laughing? Like, what's going on? Are you laughing?" And then he started to kind of open his eyes. And then I think when he realized, like, what's going on? Like, I can't move. I can't talk. Like, he started to cry. So I'm like freaking out. And I'm on Facebook. I'm calling family members. I'm calling people. I'm going, this guy's waking up, man. I'm grabbing the nurse. And it was crazy because God bless them. The nurse was just like, what, like, why are you so like no emotion, no response. I was like, oh my God, like, look what's happening. Like literally, this is like a week from the doctor telling us, hey, sorry, what you see is what you get. And that's constantly, and I'm not trying to knock the medical field. I get like they have to do what they got to do, but I don't understand why the negativity, why no optimism, why no hope. It's always, sorry, yeah, he's never going to walk again. He's never going to wake up. He's never going to talk again. He's never going to eat again. What you see is what you get. And ever since then, all he's done over 8 years is make them wrong. He's stringing together full sentences. He's pushing himself in a wheel. I mean, this has been an 8-year journey of his brain repairing itself.
Yeah.
But everything's still there. It's just that when something hasn't been used for 8 years, it's not going to work as quick and easy as maybe if I hurt my shoulder today. Right. So anyway, that was crazy. But what I did during that early part, and even, after that, was still really painful. Even when he woke up, it was like, he was just not the person. Like the week before or 2 months before, he was like lugging pipe, strong, healthy, my best friend, right? The best man at my wedding. And so what I ended up doing is I already wouldn't say that I ate great at that time, but I really started to like cope. And I'm talking like on my way home, I would like any kind of, it was not drugs or alcohol, it was food, which is kind of a drug, but I was a lot of sugar, a lot of deep fried food, a lot of like pain late at night by myself, eating and just being in pain and not knowing how to express myself and not knowing how to deal with all this stuff. And I thought, just like guys are taught to do, I'll just push that down into the later heart attack or cancer that's going to turn into. No worries.
Literally with the food too, right? You're eating and it's just pushing it down and eating and pushing it down.
Maybe that's what I was doing. I was just suppressing all those feelings, right? And so anyway, so that led to obviously, 6 or 8 years, 6, 7 years of doing that behavior, even after I kind of healed emotionally from it and he was doing better. And he's actually back in New Brunswick now and he's in a much better place. So less responsibility for me. I carried all those bad habits into my regular everyday life. It was just a normal thing to do now. And then I've tried many, many times over the last 6 or 7 years to shift that behavior, and nothing was ever important enough until I discovered that I was hurting my family. I sat down with my doctor and because I was trying to get more insurance so that I could expand my banking system and protect my family even further, which I can add some more context to.
Yeah, for sure. We will.
There's a major hurdle when it comes to insurance. It's called health. for a lot of people, it's a big hurdle. And I was only 35 years young, and I was not healthy enough to be insured. I was not insurable. So that was devastating news to me. I thought, oh my gosh, here I am. What a hypocrite. What a shoemaker's son or whatever. I'm talking to people, coaching people. I mean, I had policies and stuff, but I did not have nearly as much insurance on my own life as I needed, just from a protection perspective. And then the banking policies, again, that I can add context to, those actual policies, I owned many of them, but they were on my wife and my kids' lives, not on my own. So I'm sitting here and I was extremely guilty and nervous. I mean, obviously we all want to live a long, healthy life, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I get smacked by a bus right now, my family is hooped, because $800,000 just will not do the job. So that's what really was the catalyst. It was like, my doctor sat me down and he said, look, man, because you're a young, healthy guy. All you got to do is change the way you eat, change your behavior, like exercise, and you'll be healthy and strong, and you'll repair all the damage that you've done. Or you can keep going what you're going, or the way that you're going, and you can wind up like your parents. Which one do you want to do? Yeah. And I said, okay, I want to lead by example. I want to show my kids. I want to not lie to my kids and tell them, hey, whatever you want to have in your life, you can have it. Meanwhile, I'm miserable, or I'm not healthy or strong or whatever. And I didn't, and I'm happy to report that I went on about a 24 month. I'm still on the journey, but I went on this journey. I dropped about 40 pounds. I completely repaired a fatty liver, high blood sugars, protein in the urine. Like, there were so many things that I couldn't list, but they were all on the cusp, like just above, like, okay, warning signs, right?
Yeah, not a red flag, but you might want to pay attention to this.
Well, it was red flags for sure, but it wasn't like too far gone. It was like all, here's normal. I was up here and that's extreme. I was headed toward that, but I reversed it all. And then now I'm happy to say that I have nearly over like $5 million of insurance over my life. And I have critical illness insurance and all that stuff. I've expanded my banking system. And I'm extremely proud of that, because it wasn't just, it really took something. And it was all about, I just kept remembering, to your point, it's like the why. I'm like, every day, why am I eating this food? Why am I doing this exercise? I want that chocolate bar so bad. I want to stay up late and do bad things. It was like, no, it's like, if I do that, I'm not going to be able to fulfill my promise to my family, period. Right. Yeah.
You get to a place where you associate like the chocolate cake or the sugar, let's say, with ill health. And then you associate the apple or the spinach salad with good health. And then the choice becomes easier to make, because you know why you're making it and what it's going to give you, or what you're going to avoid. Like I said before, by not choosing the latter, or, Well,
there's also, you're 100% right. And it's like celebrating the wins.
Absolutely. Like,
I'm always Mr. Never good enough. Diminishing my successes. I realize too, by the way, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, when somebody gives you a compliment, you're actually taking from them when you diminish what they said. That's not good.
Oh, hands down.
You have to be a good receiver.
I know. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to gift somebody something, because I want to give, like, when we give gifts of any kind, whether they're like monetary or physical or emotional or support, whatever is social, we're giving to get joy too. Like, it's not our primary motivation to do it, but it does bring us joy. And when somebody doesn't accept it, it rips us of the joy that we could experience to be givers.
100%. Like, even if it's as simple as, oh, hey, your shirt, that's a nice shirt that you have on. And you're like, oh, this old thing. And the person's kind of like, oh, geez, I gave him a compliment. And
just get used to saying thank you. That's all you have to say. Eventually that'll shift inside, right?
100%. And so I would diminish, I get on a scale and, oh, wow, you're down, like, from when you started, you're down 10 pounds. I'm like, gosh, you're only 10 pounds. I got this much further to go. And that's just a bad attitude, bad habit. But now I'm starting to like celebrate my victories and this is like a 20-year journey of building myself, but like, it's slowly actually starting to shift where I go, oh, it's okay to do okay. It's okay to do well. It's okay to celebrate that. Okay, I did it. Like, every day, it's like an addict, right? I don't want to compare it to anything like that, but it's like every day that I crush the freaking chicken salad and an avocado, and I have a workout, I'm like, wow, I just did that. I ate that salad. I ate that chicken. I didn't hit the drive-through or order something or not eat.
Yeah.
I did it. right? And I go, oh man, good job. You did it. You know, it's like completing tasks or getting thing off the list. You just feel, and then you got to get addicted to that consistency. Never get bored of consistency.
Well, and it has to become a part of who you are somewhere along that journey too. Like I just started on a journey that I've kind of gone through before. So I've redone it. And one of the things I've eliminated from my diet is alcohol, amongst a lot of other things. Not that I was a heavy drinker, but I definitely was a social drinker, or, you know, just having a glass of wine, you know, my husband watching a movie or something like that, you know, usually at 9 p.m., which is like the worst time to drink a glass of wine. So anyways, I was on a trip with my mom. And when I was on that trip, every time I went up to the bar, I was like, no, I don't want to drink, right? Like, just give me sparkling water, give me a water, something like that. Yeah. And by the end of the trip, I just said, I don't drink alcohol. Like, instead of like, it literally like took a journey inside me. And I'm like, I don't drink alcohol. So now I'm just like kind of having this inside shift of like, no, it's just not who I am anymore. It's not good for my liver. It's not good for my pancreas. It's not good for my digestion. And so I'm just not going to do it. Because if I'm going to heal those 3 organs, then that means something to me. Right. So, okay. So that's what I want to get at with you. So you said it really meant something to you when you knew your why, and it was connected to the financial side, the financial health of your life. So maybe, share a little bit with us about why finances are so important, because you have a really unique perspective. And that's why I say you're interesting, because I love your interesting perspective on financing. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was more obviously the finances, but it was more, like I said,
the family, right?
Worst case scenario, right? Taking care of my family. And I know that obviously, like I said, like the process that we use, the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, that is what I coach, what I implement in my own life. First and foremost, that's the number one thing, is I show all my clients exactly what it is that I do with my own system of policies, my own personal banking system that we operate in our family, that allows us to control the flow of money. It allows us to control the payment streams as it relates to our needs. You're never going to eliminate payments. We just think we do. Oh, I pay cash for things. Well, isn't that a payment? You deposited money in a savings account at someone else's bank. Isn't that a payment? Like, it's always just a payment. There's always money flowing, but who is the one who's in control of it? Who has access to it? Who's that money being put to work for, more importantly? Right. And what's that doing for you long-term? So that's the process that we're talking about. So we happen to use a specific type of insurance policy, life insurance policy, to as a tool to implement that process. Okay. And a lot of people get confused. They think it has to do with this policy. You don't need a policy to become your own banker. It's just the best tool being able to find, right? The point is, I need to get the insurance to do that. And I guess to sum up my, if you want to call it, unique perspective on money and finances, is here's the deal. In my life, I'm starting to own and realize that it's all about serving some type of a higher purpose, whether that's God or the universe or karma, or just bringing people joy, or just trying to spread a little bit of love and positivity versus being a curmudgeon, or whatever there's a higher purpose out there that you're meant to do. Like, something is pumping your heart, not just for you to go and binge on Netflix. And more importantly, when it comes, and there's nothing wrong with binging Netflix, okay, but we all have capabilities and potentials that we are not aware of. And for the most part, even if you're performing at a high level, there's more to you, right? Period. Like, I get that I'm just getting started after 20 years of creating myself. But the thing that really inspires me to help people be empowered around money, and to show them a system and a process to help them create wealth without working any harder, is that your purpose and what you're here for is not to worry about your visa bill, not to figure out how to keep your lights on. It's not to, how can I retire? That is nonsense. Retirement, that is absolute taboo language. My mentor always says to me, you know, when you're retired, do you ever know what they mean when they take a plane out of service? They put it in some graveyard and they call it, it's retired.
Oh yeah. Even in my like space of positive psychology, it's just been interesting to watch how much science has been revealing how, when you retire in the typical form, like with its typical definition, you basically wither away and die because your purpose is gone.
Yeah, my mentor says you become low-hanging fruit for gravity, and it's trying to suck you into the ground. Literally, that's what's happening, right? So you need to, he goes, I'll never retire. Will I enjoy passive income time? Absolutely. But it's all about chasing something, passion, making a difference somewhere.
Yeah.
But the point is I want to help people, myself included, right? I didn't grow up with money. This is just a ton of mistakes and a lot of effort and a lot of commitment to get to where I am at today financially, which is a peaceful, stress-free way of living. Do I still depend on income and all that? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's an entirely different thing between getting the money or knowing how to earn it and then knowing what to do with it when you get it.
Right. So, because there's got to be a parallel relationship between the health of your well-being, your life, your health, and the health of your relationship with finances.
This is the exact point. Sorry, did you?
No, like that's kind of what I'm kind of hearing from you is that, and I would love to know from you what you see as the connection between the two.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to specifically answer that question. Here's my point to the whole thing. Yeah. Like I said earlier about not worrying about keeping the lights on or retirement or whatever. If you think about, hopefully this is okay. There's this book I read a long time ago. The Success Principles. I heard Jack Canfield speak one time live.
Oh, very cool.
One of the things that he talks about is this thing called attention units. We got this hard drive or whatever it is. I'm not a computer guy, but the program running up here, right?
Yeah.
It only has so much RAM. It only can hold so much data. And he's talking about every incomplete in your life, like the light switch that needs to be fixed and the wall that needs to be painted and the garage that needs to be built or the bill that needs to be paid. Those are all attention units that are being taken up by all of the incompletes and the things that you're not dealing with in your life. So that's one of the things I'm on a mission to do is just reveal that's what's in the background and take on what needs to be taken on. But the point is we spend way too much time and energy and stress and attention units on worrying about something as ridiculous as money. It's absolutely necessary and we need it. It's a tool, but we're so focused and concerned about, I got to put the kids through school and I got to pay this bill and I got to do that. Yeah. And what do? We work, get the money. And then what happens to it all? It disappears. It goes away. It goes to someone else's bank and it's gone forever. And then people take 5 or 10% and they focus on trying to grow that 5 and 10% by putting it at risk and potentially losing that and having to work even harder now. It's because someone else is the banker. Somebody else controls all the money as it relates to your needs, period. And my point is if I could find a way, I don't care how much money you have, it's not a number, it's about what you can do in the lifestyle, right? If we could find a way to make your life less stressful financially and have more of the money that's flowing away, have more of that flow back to you and your family so you had more money to do more things with, you'd be less stressed, you'd be less focused on that, and you'd be able to actually serve a higher purpose, more of a parent to your kids, take care of your health. Give back to your church or a charity or a go pump wells in Africa. Like, I don't know what your purpose is or what matters to you, but that's what I'm saying is we're so focused on the surface and the things that really don't matter because we have to be. That's just how it is. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay my car bill. I got whatever. That's the problem is that we're all distracted by all those things, and money's not everything, but it is a huge part of it. If you woke up tomorrow, ask yourself this question. If you woke up tomorrow and you never had to worry about money ever again, what would you be doing with your life?
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Well, here's the thing,
right?
I want to hear that. And the answer to that question, to your point earlier about my exercise or whatever it is, the why behind the what, the answer to that question, what would you be doing if you never had to worry about money again? That's your purpose. That's your why. And so take responsibility for the money, use that why as the driver behind getting healthy, taking care of your money, investing the time and energy to learn something. Once you solve those problems, you can focus, you get closer and closer to focusing on what actually will bring you fulfillment. So that's my why, the money stuff.
I know for me, one of the biggest shifts was I used to feel that it was not right for me to want to earn or have more money. Because it was almost like my upbringing made me feel like evil was associated with money somehow, really. And so for the longest time, I remember being a part of a direct sales business, and they were always like, well, you want to earn this money because you want to get what? A fancy car, a fancy house. Like, what do you want to, have with the money? And then stuff, it could never motivate me.
Right.
Just couldn't. And now I'm finally at a point where like, I want to make millions, if not billions of dollars, because of the way I want to serve the world. And I know it's going to require money. 100%. And I'm just like, I can't do that without money, so it's shifting my reasoning why I want to be wealthy. It's not because I want to have a private jet. It's got nothing to do with that. And so, yeah, it's shifting my relationship with money and my desire to want to earn more money.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? That's the same thing where it goes back to, people think, oh, I'm a giver and I don't need this and I don't need that. And I don't need a lot of money. And okay, well, can you have too much? Like if you had a bunch of money, if you have more than what you need, can't you just use that much more to serve others?
Right. Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous, backward, let myself off the hook type of thinking. It's really easy to like not challenge myself and say, I don't need money and I don't need washboard abs or whatever the whole thing is that you're letting yourself off the hook with. Examine that a little further and discover if you're telling the truth or not.
Yeah.
Right.
So true. And so in recreating a different relationship with money, then I'm more attached to my purpose, if you will. So I'm more driven. And
100%.
that alone, just having that purpose is a well-being practice, let's say, reminding yourself what your purpose is. To me, that's a well-being practice for sure.
100%. If you think about, okay, if I'm going to purchase this thing, or if I'm going to save this money or make this deposit or do whatever it is, well, it's a simple question. If I eat this or do that, is this getting me closer to my purpose or further away? Is this a good use of money? Is this something that I really need right now? I'm not saying not to spend money. I'm literally saying like, oh, you might say, oh, actually, yeah, I do need to upgrade from a little tiny car to an SUV because that means I'm going to be able to have that many more dogs in the back that I'm going to go do my dog walking or whatever the thing is. I'm just saying like you can take yourself through that exercise because a lot of times, we make decisions or whatever because it's a vain or it looks good or it sounds good and then whatever. So yeah, it's good to have some kind of process for anything that you're going to do. Again, what you're going to eat, and that's the eating or money or whatever. So yeah.
So do you have like guidelines for yourselves, like exercises you take yourself through, yearly, bi-yearly? Like, I'm not sure, what does it look like for you in your life to remind yourself of that why with the money, especially?
Well, for me, it's a little bit of a cheat code because first of all, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I feel like it's like in my soul.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. This is just the way in which I serve the world. It happens to be through this process. It's the way that I help because my purpose is really to help people create freedom and to live the life that they actually want to live. I just happen to do, some people do it through coaching. Some people, technically I'm a coach, but some people do it through diet and exercise and whatever. Yeah. And some people do it through, coaching people on a process that has to do with building wealth. And so for me, the cheat code, like I said, is that I not only practice this concept in my own life, I actually coach people on it day in and day out. So I'm so absorbed in it. I'm around it all the time. And I'm just constantly reminded, like, now it's just so simple. There's a certain process that I do, like how I manage my own money. But I'm always thinking about my family. I'm always thinking about my clients. I'm always thinking about, we do a lot of YouTube content. Like, I want to be the sharpest example as I possibly can and be that diligent because that is what it takes. But then I can show people, hey, look, there's mistakes that I made and I fall off or whatever. But that's the point, is that's what kind of keeps driving me as I know in my heart. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything, but I just know in my soul that what I'm doing is a good thing. So
when somebody's ready to take that leap with you and you're kind of their financial coach, what are some of the things that you guide them through in the early stages to help them with connecting to that purpose and the why of doing it this way?
Well, the good news, like what happens is most people who I end up working with actually found us. Yeah. Versus us finding them, which is fine. Like, we produce a lot of content, whatever. So generally they find us. So just I always acknowledge people just for getting to the point where we're literally on a call, not because I'm some special guy, but it took something for you to get to the point where you had an idea or you saw an ad or whatever, and you went through a process to get to the point where you're on a call with a guy like me. Congratulations. Like, even if you just walk away, you actually did something just to get on that call, because you could have bowed out many, many times. You know how it is. You could have just been out many, many times. This seems like a lot of work.
We can get ourselves not to do things all the time very easily.
Yeah. So that right there is one of the first qualifications. And when it's through questioning people and getting a sense of what they're up to and what matters to them, and trying to find out, why are we on this call today? Mm-hmm. Oh, because I want to take more control of my finances and I want to have more freedom. Oh, what would that do for you? Oh, well, then I'd be able to be there for my kids, and I could use this as a tool to teach them, and I could do, tell me more about that, right? So it's all about discovering. And what's their favorite subject? Look at me running my mouth here. You ask me a couple of questions, you can't shut me up. It's the same thing when I talk to people. Hey, guess what? Good news, Josephine, we're here about you. It has nothing to do with me. So tell me about you and what matters. And so we're just learning how to pull that out of people, and then find out, well, how did we get to where we're at? And then by that time, there's some know, like, and trust there. So they're honest with you. Hey, I made some mistakes. I did this, I did that. I didn't research. I didn't study. I threw my money at this, whatever the thing is, right? Or, hey, COVID happened and we coped. We used our credit cards and we bought toys and we did this and we did that. And now I see, okay, that was great. It got us through, and it's a problem. Now I got to clean this up, whatever. Mm-hmm. So just getting to know people. But then our process is a little different. That's why I say it's not a product. We're not, quote, selling a product. We're coaching people to implement a process. And believe it or not, I have people who actually want to, quote, buy policies from me that I've said no to, because that's what they think it is. They think it's a product. They're there to create a dependent relationship. And tell me, Josephine, do you want more dependence in your life or independence?
No, thank you.
All day long, right? So that's what I say to them. I go, look, the title of the book is Becoming Your
Own.
Those are the key words. I'm here to coach you and give you good guidance, but this is your baby.
Yeah, totally. To
actually have the discipline to learn the process. And then once we start to coach you to implement it, it takes a little bit of work. You have to, what works for me might not work for you. I'm here to give you ideas and whatnot. And we have all kinds of tools and all that for that. But that's really what, I think you began by asking me, like, what I do to sort of get somebody moving along in the process, I guess.
Yeah, because you've, like, for you said it's been a part of, it's now in your soul is what you said. So it's, if somebody's just beginning in that journey, what are helpful questions or different thoughts that they can think or ways to feel around money so that shifts for them and actually impacts their well-being in a positive way. Yeah.
Here's what should be a really good one. And I'm I get that I'm not knocking people who actually work at banks. What banks do is actually quite brilliant. They've convinced us that we need them. Mm-hmm. So just ask yourself this question: who's doing all of the work and who is getting all of your money? The answer is you're doing all of the work, and all of your money is flowing to and through someone else's bank. Yeah. And I'm not talking about investments. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just think about the amount of money that's flowing through your life today, and who is harnessing the growth potential on those dollars. It's flowing to someone else's bank, and that bank is putting that money to work to help create other families' wealth, not yours. Yeah. That should really get a little irritating. You should be like, really think about the flow of money. It's always coming back to the banking system, right?
Yeah. Well, it bothers me. Ever since I met you, it bothers me. And it bothers me that I don't have a policy, and it bothers me that we don't do that. And I know that it, like, interestingly enough, like, you kind of the same journey you went through when you had to, like, get decline for a policy for it to, take you to another step. I know that's coming, because the more irritated I get by the fact that that's not the way I operate in my finances, the closer it gets me to being like, okay, the pain is great enough, and I'm not going to keep going that way because the pain is just too great.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're getting close on time here. I'll just share something with you. One of the things, like, when I got this book, and this is just one of our teaching tools, right? Nelson Nash is the pioneer, the founder of the actual process, and he discovered it through his own financial ruin. That's one of the things that attracted me to this whole process. And in the book, he doesn't talk about it. Well, he shares numbers and stuff, but it's not about the numbers.
No.
It helps us understand what we refer to as the problem. Again, I'm doing all the work. Somebody else is getting all my money. Once you go through and you start learning how simple this process is, and how that we can create wealth literally by just doing what banks do. What are we taught to do, Josephine? Work real hard.
In the bank. Work hard and put the money in the bank.
Put the money in the bank, right?
Remember Mary Poppins?
Not really. I mean,
oh my gosh, because you're going to have to go watch it, because the dad was like, there was a whole song on it. You got to put your money in the bank. Like, It's how it goes. Put poppins in the bank.
That's the point. Give your money to the bank, put your money in control of somebody else who thinks they can do better with it than you can. And then take your money and put it at risk in order to grow it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with investing, but you don't have to put your money at risk in order to create wealth. Just look at what the banks do. Right. How much of the hard-earned money that you're earning, that you're flowing to the bank, do you think that they're putting in at risk in the stock market?
Probably all of it.
No, basically none of it. What banks do is, I'm not saying they don't buy stock. I
misunderstood your question then.
No, sorry. Let's think about what a bank does. What banks do is they loan with security, i.e. my great credit, my income, my car that I need to finance, house. They loan with security because if I don't pay the bill, they're going to come get my stuff. They don't invest with risk. But we're taught all over the financial commercials, all of the entertainers, hey, go and invest your money with risk. Meanwhile, all banks do is they lend money out, they accept deposits, and they create flows of income coming back. So what if you could do all that yourself? What if you could build a system that would allow you to loan the money to yourself, and you'd make the payment that you otherwise would have made to someone else back to yourself without, and your money could keep on growing. You're already some bank's really good customer. Why don't you just become your own really good customer?
Great customer.
It's really that simple. And this is what I'll leave you with, at least from Nelson. He says, after you've read the book and you're on page 65, he says, look, assuming that you were by now sufficiently convinced that this is the course of action that you would like to take, the question becomes, how do I get started? The most important word that comes to my mind is desire. Not, hey, you got to have $1 zillion and you got to do this. And you actually have to have a desire that you want to implement this process, because he says, without it, you probably can't do it. Remember Parkinson's law from part 2. And a high level definition of Parkinson's law: work expands to match the time allotted. Expenses rise to match income, right? So you got to whip Parkinson's law, because if you're not intentional with that new income that shows up, if you don't do something with it, someone will do something with it for you.
Well, what did I just say to you? If I get like this job and I sign on the dotted line, I'm calling you. And that's very intentional, because I know that easily with that increase in income, we could do something, the mind goes everywhere. Like, we can do this, that is the first thing I'm doing.
Oh, God bless you. Well, we got to exactly what you said, prioritize your objectives over any other use of money. And just to finish off Nelson's little quote, he says, Parkinson's law, everyone is already spending all financial resources that he or she thinks is best. There has got to be some honest introspection at this point, and a commitment to get out of financial prison must be a burning passion. Period. It's just like, I get goosebumps every time. It's like, holy snap, that's absolutely true. Regardless of what process or tool or whatever it is that you're using, it has to matter to you.
Yeah, totally.
Thank
you so much, Vern, for sharing your wealth of knowledge and really just how important finances are connected to our well-being. It's something we don't necessarily, put in the puzzle, but it is just so needed in that puzzle piece. So
100%. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Wellbeing That Works. Before you go, take 1 minute to write down your takeaway from today's guest. And be sure to download our Wellbeing Evaluation Sheet to help you along your wellbeing journey. And if you've got something to share to inspire others, be sure to be a guest on our show. Until next time, with love and kindness.